Hi, I'd just like to share this guy's video, Shady Anderson, who I've just discovered on YouTube in the last couple of days, and I think it's absolutely brilliant. And it's so heartening to witness, you know, a true Briton standing up and speaking sense and sanity in the midst of all this madness, you know, the Tommy Robinson madness, as he calls him, Tommy Four Names, you know, because Tommy Robinson isn't his real name. And he's, you know, he's woken up to the reality that this Britain First stuff, EDL, or whatever they want to call themselves, far right, nationalism, patriotism that's going on right now, is totally zionist controlled. It's a controlled opposition, and it's feeding on hate, the rhetoric of hate, the rhetoric of violence and crime. So, you know, the basic gist of it is that, you know, a few Muslims have been found guilty of abusing children, organised crimes against children, so, you know, therefore all Muslims are paedophiles, okay? A black person commits a crime, all black people are criminals. An immigrant rape somebody, all immigrants are rapists, regardless of the fact that if you took away all of the other ethnic minorities out of Britain, whether it be by race, culture, faith, at the end of the day Britain's going to have still its fair share of rapists, murderers, child abusers, you know, misogynists, criminals. They're all going to be there, because these crimes are not unique to any one faith or race or culture. The fact that so many people are criminalised or have criminal desires is because we're living in a criminal world that is controlled by criminals, okay, who live by the motto as above so below. And so obviously if you've got criminals ruling you, then they're going to, the general populace is going to reflect that criminology, because they live by the law of might equals right to do as thy will. And that was blatantly obvious with the banking crash, and how British people were told that the bankers are too big to prosecute. There you have it, staring us in the face. It's not a conspiracy theory, it's a fact. It's a fact. They live by the Luciferian law of might equals right to do as thy will, okay? And it's so heartening to witness, you know, somebody like Shady get up, speak out, speak sense and sanity, and to witness the support that he's getting, which is absolutely fantastic, that people are supporting him. I mean, myself, as I've had the opposite, you know, I get very little support. I've been making my videos for 5 years. I've had to disable dislikes and comments, likes and comments, because I was just so heavily trolled. And no matter how strong you are, you know, and I do live with PTSD as a result of the crimes committed against me as a child. It does get hard to take, you know, especially when you're already suffering from attacks, covert attacks by so-called friends and family who have to create excuses to distance themselves from you because they regard me as a security threat. You know, oh, I'm sorry, I've had to stop being your friend on Facebook because, you know, your posts are so negative. What, negative? Because I'm explaining reality to them, reality of this society. You know, oh, my 13-year-old child might see them, and blah blah blah. At least they're the honest ones. Some of them have instead created animosity out of fabrications, just total lies, in order to justify a clean break. You know, like, yeah, we don't want you at our door. You're going to bring MI, you know, we're going to be watched by MI5 if we like your post on Facebook or if we share your video. And in particular I've been attacked because I've been addressing the issue of organised crimes against children in Britain, which I'm thoroughly aware do include Muslims, Christians, you name it, people from every faith and no faith, and every culture, every walk of life are involved in crimes against children. So, you know, it isn't an issue of race or culture. And I've made a video recently about the deaths of Diana and Dodie, and exposing, you know, the reasons why those people were considered such a serious threat, precisely because they would have been a fly in the ointment in the face of the narratives that are taking place today that feed and fund people like Tommy Robinson, total zionist shills. It is pure greed, and I think at the heart of it, because these people are hypocrites, they won't listen to sense and sanity. Why? Because they don't want to listen to sense and sanity. What they crave is freedom to enact their sadism on the general public. So, you know, they can start persecuting gays and persecuting Jewish people or Muslim people or even Christian people, you know, because the whole point of it is that the battle is against care and conscience and compassion. And this man embodies care, conscience and compassion. He cares about children. He cares about the future for his children. That's why he's never going to be invited on Zionist-controlled BBC Newsnight like Tommy Robinson was, you know. And you know, I've had police at my door for posts on Facebook and things like this, you know, but at the end of the day, bankers can rob people of billions, strip my friend's pension, who lost £250,000 pension that they'd paid into it over the course of their lives. Oh, suddenly it's all gone. That's okay. No police at the banker's door. Okay? No police at David Cameron's door, in spite of all the evidence that Gordon Bowden's got on him. No police at his door, but oh my gosh, you put a post up on Facebook about child abusers, and yeah, you know, you're treading on dangerous territory. Well, all I can say is that I have been heartened because there are members of authorities who are starting to wake up, and as I predicted 5 years ago, there is going to be a divide in this country, and it's going to be between those who stand up for a child's right to justice, care, compassion, respect and protection, and those who don't, right? And that's the difference. And Zionists don't. And we are being governed by a treasonous parliament. It's committing high treason as I speak. They have invited and tolerate the Zionist lobby, who are fundamentally anti-human. Okay, they are guilty of serious crimes against humanity, and this government is supporting them. And the people of this country, as this man is trying his best to wake people up to that, we are all at risk, because if our government will support Zionists' right, so-called right, to persecute Palestinian people on the strength of their faith and nationality, then believe you me, they will do the same to British people, and they are. We're witnessing it now. And so instead the carrot is Tommy Robinson, isn't it? You know, let's blame the immigrants. But really it's got nothing to do with immigrants, has it? Because a country like Britain, with such a large population, we should be really prosperous, shouldn't we? Everybody could be just working a 3-day week for a living wage. You know, this things that we need to do, you know, righteously, like for example, kick out the Zionist controllers of the Bank of England, take control of our bank, produce our own money supply, invest in eco-industry, new technology, invest in hemp. Hemp could provide for all our needs, our clothes, plastics, oil, even building materials, you name it, we can get it off hemp. Hemp can be our social security. This consciousness this Zionist consciousness, you know, it calls itself Zionist. It isn't Zionist. True Zionists are Rastafarians. It calls itself a patriarchy. It isn't a patriarchy, because the patriarchy supports the matriarchy, because the patriarchy could not exist without the matriarchy. And that's why this consciousness, 1,000 years ago in Britain, crushed the matriarchy in order precisely to crush the patriarchy, so they could install their oligarchy that has been posing as a patriarchy. Is fundamentally misogynist. You know, to this very day, there's still that stigma associated with menstruation. Women are suffering increased levels of postnatal depression. I've lost a friend to that who hung herself. Another friend recently, deeply upset because his friend at work who'd took time off for maternity leave, lovely bubbly woman, after she'd had a baby, a month later she's hung herself. You know, what is going on? People think this is normal. Is it any wonder that women are getting depressed after bringing a child into this world? You know, and I am questioning the fact that women are expected to have a baby, to work in order to pay to raise that baby, that child, and all the heartache, the blood, sweat and tears that go into raising a child. And what for? So a corporation can come along and say, thank you, ma'am. Well, no, not even thank you, ma'am. It's actually, F off, ma'am. This belongs to us now. It's going to be our slave to pay off our debts. Our corporate debts. That we've dumped onto you. Because in order even to provide a home for your house, for your child, you're going to have to put yourself in debt to us in order just to provide a home for the child that you've brought into this world. You're going to be in our death grip. That's what mortgage means. Death grip. Mort. Death. Okay? And it is very, very, very serious that our country is under heavy influence. Our media's controlled, our government's controlled, even they've got control of our police and military, all on Zionist behest. And it is a very serious matter that we are suffering. We're suffering as a result, and then the sufferers are giving the easy way forward, aren't they? Look, you're feeling angry, you're feeling upset, you're feeling insecure, you're afraid. Channel it into anger, turn your anger into hate. Here's some scapegoats. Look, these Muslims, these criminal Muslims. Okay? But never mind the fact that of the criminal Christians or the criminal non-Christians, you know, because it, as I say, it makes no difference. There's a general dissatisfaction. People are vulnerable under the influence of dissatisfaction. They seek to sedate their dissatisfaction with a sense of pride, patriotism. But pride comes before a fall, because it's hollow. It's hollow. Pride is what people cling to when they are dissatisfied. Satisfaction is what we need. It's what the people of World War II, the survivors, strive to establish in Britain. It's what men like my grandfather gave their life for in World War II. And I don't forget that. But people have forgotten it. It's like, it's okay for us to forget our ancestors. Oh, but the Queen, she's going to remember us forever and ever. You know, they're going to be immortalised in oil, hanging on her gallery walls. Okay, I've got one photo of my granddad. One photo. My mum never knew her father. And our family have suffered as a direct result of my mum having no father. And we continue to pay that price, but it's a price that isn't recognised. And, you know, it just gives me so much, what can I say, respect. I feel supported by just the fact that he's there, he's speaking out as well. Because like I say, you know, when you put in your stuff out, and I don't just make videos, I confront the authorities, I work on particular cases, you know, like for example the depleted uranium stuff. I contact the MOD, I do actual work behind the scenes in confronting the authorities, and that's what we all need to do. The pen is mightier than the sword. We need to inundate the offices of power with our questions, you know. Be like a little child, Jesus said, and that is the way to be like a little child, isn't it? Dare to ask a question, dare to care. And too many people are falling shy of that. They're falling into apathy, ignorance, or else if they are going to get active, it's going to be because they're standing by somebody like Tommy Robinson, who the media spotlight is shining on, in the same way it's shining on ISIS, that we know is being funded and recruited and trained by the Zionists, and the Zionists among British intelligence, the Zionists among British Parliament. All of them are treasonous because they're supporting a nation that fundamentally stands against human rights, and particularly child rights, you know. And people have criticised me, oh, I'm over emotional, you know, I swear sometimes, you know, blasphemy. Yeah, sorry, go away with that one. Blasphemy is telling me a banker is too big to prosecute. Blasphemy is telling me at the age of 13, when I've reported very serious crimes that have been committed against me by my own dad to police and social services, that the way forward now is for me to rebuild a relationship with him. And then when I refuse to do that, when I explain that, no, don't you understand, the relationship was me being a toy, I'm told, I'm criticised for being unforgiving. But it isn't about forgiveness, is it? It's not about forgiveness. Because you could forgive a dangerous dog, okay, an aggressive, dangerous dog, for being that way because of the way it's been raised or whatever. But at the end of the day, that forgiveness is not going to stop that dog being a danger to people and children, is it? So, you know, you're going to have to try and retrain it, show it some compassion, some love. Even then, it might never actually not be a dangerous dog. But there's a chance that it might be, if you give it some therapy. You know, some people are dangerous. It doesn't matter how much you forgive them, they're a dangerous person because this society creates that kind of consciousness. The oligarchy that has cut the patriarchy out and crushed the matriarchy. Crushed the matriarch precisely so that it could destroy the patriarch. Here's a true patriarch. True patriarchy. Cares about children, cares about the future. Talks sense and sanity. Wakes up to reality. And the thing is that it's not about standing against, is it? That's what they want. They want us to stand against. Like, you know, the Tommy Robinson crew. Stand against Islam. No, it isn't about standing against. We stand up for our rights. We stand up for our children's rights to sense, sanity, justice, care, compassion, protection, reason. Okay? When we stand up for those things and we get attacked, that's when we defend ourselves. That's a righteous war. We're on the side of the right, because it isn't might equals right to do as thy will. The true law is right equals might to do as thy will. Are you right? Are you operating lawfully? Are you operating from a place of compassion, care and respect. So you are free to do as you will, because you are operating in a caring, compassionate, lawful way. You can live freely. And it's precisely when the people who stand against our rights to do that, okay, that is when they're successful, as obviously they are today because they're controlling the whole financial system, then we're going to be living in a criminal world that breeds more criminals. You know? And the kind of people that, yeah, they crave to be able to, like I say, go and persecute certain members of society. That's what they crave. They crave to have the kind of freedom that Nazis gave themselves. Now, people have called me anti-Semitic. I'm not anti-Semitic, I'm full support of Jews. I understand that Zionists are fundamentally anti-Jew. I understand that. They're anti-Christian, they're anti-Islam, they're anti-human. They're an elitist Nazi consciousness. Who actually funded Nazis? There's no two ways about it. They did. Oh, I'm a Holocaust denier because I dispute the 6 million figure. But nonetheless, I still understand that Jews were persecuted by Nazis. They were incarcerated, they were enslaved, they were killed, they were experimented on. Along with gypsies and gay people, people with mental health problems, people deemed unfit by the Nazis who wanted a pure super race. And that's what that same consciousness is Zionist. They consider the same, that the majority bulk of humanity on earth are impure. We're cattle. And that's how they're treating us. And Tommy Robinson's, they're the sheepdogs, aren't they? Except they're not dogs, they're wolves. And ultimately, they'll round up the sheep for the masters on the understanding that they're going to get their fair share. They're going to be given the freedom to run amok among that flock. And you know, that's what they're heading for. And that's the future he fears for the children. And in that respect, we are the last living line of defence now. The people of today, of sense and sanity and reason. And as I say, the way forward, it is not to stand against, it's to stand up for. It's to speak out. It's to flood the offices of power with your questions and your complaints. Like, for example, what's been done in Iraq in our name. To ask the MOD, why hasn't Israel had a weapons inspector? All the evidence suggests they've got weapons of mass destruction, but they've signed no treaties, they've signed no agreements. What threat does Israel pose to Europe? Where's the weapons inspectors? Oh, Israel's exempt. Might equals right to do as thy will. They've controlled the World Bank. You know, they're the ones that lend money to nations like Africa, get them into debt, that lend money to nations like India, get them into debt, on the pretext that they must ban hemp farming. They must ban hemp. Okay? You can have this money as long as you ban hemp. Why? What is it about hemp? Because they're afraid. It's our right. You know, prohibition is the biggest cause of crime in our society. Okay, it's funding human trafficking, child abuse, slavery, arms, it's buying arms, weapons. It's criminalising, you know, otherwise innocent people who've had a spliff, got a bit of weed on them. It's costing us, it costs £40,000 a year to put a man in prison because he's been found with some weed or he's been found growing a plant. £40,000 this society is prepared to spend on somebody who's been prosecuted because they've got a plant in their pocket. But we've got no money to train a nurse. A nurse has to put herself £50,000 in debt in order to be a nurse, because Britain would rather import nurses from other places around the world. You know, we don't want to pay for the training, we just want the profession, we just want to vamp off the fact that other countries, so, you know, stealing the professionals from very poorest countries to come here because Britain can't be bothered is too mean to invest freely to train British people to be nurses, British people of every faith, every ethnicity, okay? It's the professional immigrants. Nobody looks at those, oh, the poor immigrants, yeah, they're the ones that are committing the crimes. People in poverty commit crimes. Often because that's all they can see, the way out of poverty. If there wasn't that poverty, if there was no such thing as prohibition, if illegal drugs weren't earning vast sums of money for criminals and funding all kinds of other terrible criminal activities, then, you know, people wouldn't get involved in that, would they? If it was legitimised, we should have learnt from the lessons of history as taught to us by America with their prohibition experiment against alcohol. Look what happened. The whole society virtually became run by mobs. The police were corrupt, everybody was involved in it. So they abandoned it and instead did exactly the same to even more addictive substances. And so when you've got highly addictive substances and a potential for huge profits because of those highly addictive substances, well, there's an incentive to actually get people hooked on them, isn't there? And it's a well-known fact that with human trafficking, grooming of young people for organised sexual abuse, they get them addicted to drugs. Because then they're easily controlled. Well, where are you going to get your cocaine from? You're going to have to do what I tell you, because otherwise you're not going to be able to get your fix. You know, I just wish people would wake up to that a big part of the problems in our society is to do with illegal drugs. That we need to end prohibition. We need to end it. It's absorbing massive funding, police attention, it's causing misery to so many people. And actually, the addicts are increasing. In countries where prohibition has ended, like Holland, addiction rates are dropping. Crime rates drop. Let people use these products if they want to use them. Education is key. It has massive impacts on the NHS because the stuff's cut with all kinds of substances and people end up in hospital. Who's funding the bill for that? Again, the British public. Who's funding the bill for the police doing all the drugs crimes? The public. And meanwhile the police, oh, we've got no time and resources or attention to arrest all the paedophiles. There's too many of them. We can't arrest them. Oh, what about the drug addicts then? And the drug users and the drug suppliers? There's not too many of them. No, this country is upside down, and the Tommy Robinsons are a distraction to keep it upside down and to turn people inward, to put the pain and the anger inward, so we're attacking members of our own society. And, you know, in the Dodi and Diane video, I have shared a true understanding of Islam, which I came to understand, you know, only after I'd had certain, what people would call supernatural experiences. You know, whether people believe me or not, that's up to them. I know what I experienced. I'm a very down-to-earth person. And I've honestly shared what my experiences, and what I understand as a result of those experiences. And, you know, that is why to witness somebody like Shady, you know, like absolute salt of the earth Brit, say what he says, what can I say? Thank you, thank you, thank you. And God bless you and your family and all who stand with you, because this is what we need. You know, a true voice of compassion, care, conscience and reason. The children need it. The children need it. We need sense and sanity. We need to remove this Zionist nonsense. The criminalisation of otherwise innocent people. We have a right to use what this planet produces. Okay? Nobody has a right to make a plant illegal. Unless it's the kind of plant, like, say for example, Japanese knotweed, that has got no place in Britain and is actually going to destroy, threatens the ecosystem of our natural wildlife. Obviously, then there's a need. Oh, sorry, we have to keep that in check. But to ban a plant like hemp and the sativa varieties of hemp, oh, you know, they send people crazy, it alters your mind. Does it really? Well, perhaps we need our minds altering. Is that what they're afraid of? The fact that people will wake up that cannabis actually opens people's third eye. Gets them in touch with the reality of their true self. And one thing I have noticed that a lot of people have said to me in the past, you know, that they stopped smoking cannabis because it made them paranoid. And I've explained to them, well, did it really make you paranoid? Or was it not the fact that you realise suddenly that you are paranoid? That is what you are. Fundamentally, you're paranoid. Because you live in a paranoid consciousness. You've grown up in a paranoid consciousness. You've been programmed to be paranoid. And then to smother that paranoia, the fear, with things. And, you know, climb onto an ego trip. Or else spend your life depressed because you haven't been able to get on any ego trip. Because you're too poor. And actually, you're worthless and meaningless. So, you know, you might become a thug. Or a criminal. Or you might just spend your life in despair and depression. You might become an alcoholic or a drug addict. You might become a sadist and take pleasure in abusing children. You know, that word, paedophile, that's a blasphemy. It means child lover. As I say, legally defining our children as minor, lesser important human beings, unimportant human beings, minor, that's what it means, lesser, unimportant, insignificant. Just the very fact that the people of Britain will tolerate our children to be called minors, legally defined as minors, that says it all. That says it all. You don't need to go no further than there if you've managed to persuade a whole society to accept that their children are unimportant human beings. Understand the word spells. So I'm going to leave the link to Shady Anderson's video under this video. I ask you to listen to him, to give him your support, to stand by him and to stand up for your rights. Everything that he's saying is exactly right. Check my subscriptions, the people I subscribe to. Check my channel. Okay? Because all of them are talking sense and sanity. They've all got something important to share, and we need to unite. We need to become a voice of pro-human. Okay? Not anti-Zionist. Just by the very fact of us standing up for our human rights, we're anti-Zionist. Okay? They consider us anti because we're standing up for. You know, Jesus himself, who was he speaking out for? Humanity. And in doing so, he therefore spoke against that same user of consciousness that today calls itself Zionist. It's the same force of power. Exploitation, wants to control, wants to manipulate, divide and rule, lives by the Luciferian law of might equals right to do as thy will. And we need to make these people understand that no, sorry, right equals might to do as thy will. And you people calling yourselves right are wrong, you know, and that's what they do. They call themselves the alt-right, don't they? Right wing. They're not. They're just wrong. Because they want to live by one hand alone, don't they? Oh no, only the right. Well no, sorry. We've got two hands. We need both of them. They cripple humanity, they cripple our consciousness, they are destroying our planet, they do wish to impose an unrepayable forever debt on every future generation born. We need to stand up for them. We are the last living line of defence, and too many people living in, choosing ignorance, cognitive dissonance, you know, basically psychopathy. People like myself, I'm judged weak because I have a care and conscience. Because I still love people, even people who've hurt me. I hate their crimes, I hate their lack of compassion and care, but I understand why they're like that. I still have a care for that individual in the hope that maybe they'll see the light and step out of their criminal ways, or they'll find some strength enough to have a feeling in their heart, because that's what a lot of people are afraid of. They're afraid of feeling angry, they're afraid of feeling upset. Oh no, I'm not going to look at that, it makes me upset. Get a backbone, get real, learn to live. How do you know, people like myself are outraged. We live with a sense of outrage, absolute outrage, despair, the depression of it. But we stand up, we stay standing. Wounded warriors we may be, but we carry on, we continue. We don't go crazy. Oh, okay, I've expressed a bit of passion, a bit of anger, a bit of upset, but does that stop me from being able to sit down and write to an MP, or to write to the Ministry of Defence, or write to the Home Office, or write this report, or write to the police about these crimes? No. Does my pain and anger drive me to aggressively attacking people, to physically attacking people, to committing any act of physical violence in society? No. Oh, but according to David Cameron, you know, I'm a non-violent terrorist, because I'll ask questions about 9/11 and 7/7, because I'll ask questions about a treasonous parliament that is in service to a foreign power that is undemocratic and anti-human. And my granddad, after men like my granddad gave their lives for everything that was established after World War II, exactly for our human rights, and we've got a government that's supporting a nation that is fundamentally standing against human rights, that is violating them. No, no, no. That is treason. There's no two other ways about it. That's the fact. The fact that this government can turn round and tell the people of Britain that we're going to put you in debt, every one of you and your children, forever and ever, in order to bail out a load of criminal bankers because they are too big to prosecute. So what are they saying to us? Yes, Britain is a nation that lives by Luciferian law, might equals right to do as thy will, and therefore, you know, we're going to make you lot suffer, austerity for you, we're going to attack even your health service. People of this country do not understand what the people of post-World War II Britain knew. They knew what it was like to watch your child die because you can't afford a doctor. Okay? And, you know, that is what this man is trying to wake people up to. And so, you know, that's why I'm giving him here my full support. as I say, he is attracting a lot more attention and support than I could ever hope to achieve, you know, but nonetheless, it's that isn't a criticism, and that's not. It is just a fact, you know. As a woman, working class woman in this society, a child abuse survivor, you know, I am the weakest common the weakest common denominator. Sorry, and so yeah, all right. I'm not going to get no support, but I can support him, and he is the voice that people will listen to. And that's what I mean about the matriarchy supports the patriarchy. Okay? The true patriarchy stands by the matriarchy, defends and protects the matriarchy, because that's where the children are going to come from. But no, apparently British people, you know, instead forget about the matriarchy, forget about women's rights, forget about children's rights, forget about human rights. Let's pour all our energies into hate and division and hypocrisy. Let's support people who stamp on human rights, who give themselves freedoms to commit sadistic acts of terror on innocent people, just on the grounds that they're a Palestinian, or they're gay, or they're this, or they're that, that give themselves rights to deny the rights of women and children, because they are women and children, and you're weak, you see, and I'm a man, and I'm mighty to do as I will. So it's a rapist law, because they forget that man includes both male and female equally. Man, okay? So, what can I say except big huge thanks to Shady Anderson and to everybody that is standing by him. And I tell you now, he's a lot more important voice in Britain right now than the likes of Tommy Robinson, and that's a fact.